Much love, and I'm Wayne Johnson with Doc and Queen Ministries. We want to continue on with our study lesson in Exodus. We're going to go now to Exodus chapter 8. We're going to read that, take it through, and go over some things. So let us get started. And it reads, Then the Lord told Moses, Go to Pharaoh and tell him that the Lord says, Let my people go to worship me. If you refuse to let my people go, then I will fill Egypt with frogs. The Nile River will be filled with frogs. They will come from the river and enter your houses. They will be in your bedrooms and in your beds. They will be in the houses of your officials and in your ovens and in your jars of water. The frogs will be all over you, your people, and your officials. Then the Lord said to Moses, Tell Aaron to hold the walking stick in his hand over the canals, rivers, and lakes. Then the frogs will come out into the land of Egypt. So Aaron raised his hand over the water of Egypt, and the frogs began coming out of the water and covered the land of Egypt. The magicians used their magic to do the same thing. So even more frogs came out unto the land in Egypt. Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Ask the Lord to remove the frogs from me and my people. I will let the people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord. So I'm going to stop right there at verse 8. We see that one, Moses went back to Pharaoh because God had told him to let his people go so they could worship God. Pharaoh didn't do it, so God told Aaron to raise his hands over the water and the frogs came. The magicians also performed the very same thing Aaron did, but I'm sure not to the same degree or magnitude. However, in verse 8, Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron to come and asked them to remove the frogs. And he said he would let the people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord. So Pharaoh has said that he would allow the people to go. This is the first time that Pharaoh has said he will let the people go. So let us see as we continue on with verse 9. And I also want you to think about frogs being everywhere. I live kind of like in the suburbs, and I rarely see frogs. Now, I see some from time to time, but it is rare. But can you imagine seeing frogs everywhere? In your bedroom, in your house. Not just your house, but everybody's in Egypt's house. So that's something to think about, because we don't see that happening. So, and even when we do have something, let's say we find a swarm of ants in our house, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's in other people's houses. But these frogs was not only in his house, they were in everybody's house. So just think of how many frogs was here in Egypt. Verse 9. Moses said to Pharaoh, I will pray for you, your people, and your officials. Then the frogs will leave you and your houses. They will remain only in the river. When do you want the frogs to go away? Pharaoh said, tomorrow. Moses said, it would happen as you say. In this way you will know that there is no God like the Lord our God. The frogs will leave you, your houses, your officials, and your people. They will remain only in the river. Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh. Moses prayed to the Lord about the frogs he had sent against Pharaoh, and the Lord did what Moses asked. The frogs died in the houses, in the yards, and in the fields. they began to rot, and the whole country began to stink. But when Pharaoh saw that they were free of the frogs, he again became stubborn. Pharaoh did not do what Moses and Aaron had asked him to do. This happened just as the Lord had said. Now, these verses from 8 down to 14, Pharaoh wanted the frogs to cease. And so Moses kept his promise to Pharaoh. He went to the Lord. He asked the Lord to remove them. They died. Now it caused another problem because the land stank. However, the frogs were going to be gone, or they were no longer alive. But when Pharaoh saw that he was free of the frogs, his heart became stubborn. This is something that the Lord had already told them what would happen. Verse 16. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron to raise his stick and hit the dust on the ground, and everywhere in Egypt dust will become lice or gnats." They did this. Aaron raised his stick in his hand and hit the dust on the ground, and everywhere in Egypt the dust became lice. The lice got on the animals and the people. The magicians used their magic and tried to do the same thing, but the magicians could not make lights come from the dust. The lights remained on the animals and the people. So the magician told Pharaoh that the power of God did this, but Pharaoh refused to listen to them. This happened just as the Lord had said. So let us get this 16 through 19. So the Lord told Moses to tell Aaron to raise that stick again and hit the dust, and then you're going to have lights. That happened, and everywhere there was lights, all in Egypt, on animals, on people. Now this time the magicians tried to do the same thing. This is the first time what the magicians tried to do, what Aaron did, didn't happen. It did not work. So we're seeing some changes happening. The magicians tried to use their magic, but it didn't work this time. However, even when the magicians went back to Pharaoh, Pharaoh refused to listen to them. But this is something that God had already told them would happen. Verse 20. The Lord said to Moses, "Get up in the morning and go to Pharaoh. He will go out to the river. Tell him that the Lord said, 'Let my people go and worship me.' If you don't let my people go, then flies will come into your houses. The flies will be on you and your officials. The house of Egypt will be full of flies. They will be all over the ground too. But I will not treat the Israelites the same as the Egyptians. There will not be any flies in Goshen, where my people live. In this way you will know that I, the Lord, am in this land. So tomorrow I will treat my people differently from your people. This will be my proof." So the Lord did just what he said. Millions of flies came into Egypt. The flies were in Pharaoh's house, and they were in all his official houses. They were all over Egypt. The flies were ruining the country. Let me just stop there. So this is something else that we see transpire. This is not something Aaron had to do that the Lord told Moses to tell Aaron to do. This is something that the Lord did. The Lord brought those flies on. And I know you know, just like I know, when we have one fly in the house, we are not settled until we kill that one fly. But here you have full of flies all over Egypt. Not just in houses, but all over the ground as well. So we are seeing some changes happening that are slightly different than earlier on. We don't even need Aaron to raise his staff. God is doing some of this just by what he says. And we still see that Pharaoh is hardening his heart. Verse 25. So Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and told them, offer sacrifices to your God here in this country. But Moses said it would not be right to do that. The Egyptians think it is terrible to kill animals as sacrifice for the Lord our God. If we do this here, the Egyptians will see us and throw stones at us and kill us. Let us go 3 days into the desert and offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. That is what he told us to do. So Pharaoh here is trying to make provisions of what God had told Moses and Aaron to tell Pharaoh. Pharaoh is trying to make provisions and wanted God people to offer sacrifices where he wanted it done. But Moses came back and said, no, we need to go 3 days into the desert. Not only that, your people don't believe in the killing of animals for sacrifice, and they would have us killed. So Pharaoh is getting shifted a little bit in his ways of doing things. So Pharaoh said, I will let you go and offer sacrifices to the Lord your God in the desert, but you must not go very far. Now go and pray for me. Moses said, look, I will leave and ask the Lord to remove the flies from you, your people, and your officials tomorrow. But you must not stop the people from offering sacrifice to the Lord. So Moses left Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord. And the Lord did what Moses asked. He removed the flies from Pharaoh, his official, and his people. None of the flies remained. But Pharaoh again became stubborn and did not let the people go. Take care. God bless. Much love.